Okay, as promised, joining us in the cantina is actor Todd Stashwick. Hey, Todd, welcome to Rebel Force Radio.
So good. A long time listener, first time caller.
Well, if you're a first time, okay, I got to give you a bell if you're calling in for the first time.
Hey.
That's what we do.
Nice, well played. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here with us on the show.
Good to be here.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I tell you guys? It's always been like home because I grew up in Hanover Park, Schaumburg. Ooh. I worked at Woodfield Mall, and so like ever since listening to you guys from way back, just hearing you say Star Wars, it just feels like home with your delicious Chicago accent, your Midwest charm. It feels like I'm hanging out with my bud Lou, not Bud Lou, my friend Lou, and my friend John, who we grew up. They still live there, and we talk Star Wars all the time, and it feels great. It just feels great. So like listening to you guys feels like I'm sitting around. I'm at Lou Malnati's, and we're talking about Star Wars.
Pass the deep dish, my friend.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Star Wars.
Well, Wars. Couple 2-3 slices.
Take us back, Todd, since you brought up those days in Chicago talking Star Wars. When did Star Wars find you? What were you doing when Star Wars entered your life?
I was 8 years old, Bubba, sitting in the theater in 77 when everything changed.
There it is.
Everything changed. It literally was. It was a thunderclap, as you all know. It was a thunderclap, and I forget. My uncle took me to see it at some theater in the suburbs. My cousin and we went, and it was just like I was rattled. Like it. I mean, so it's context. I was like in '74. I got my first Star Trek Mego action figures that you can see.
And they're still are those from your childhood back there, or those?
No,
those are
rebuys.
I
didn't have the presence of mind to save them at the time, but so that I've now gone back and harvested my youth on eBay. And so that's what we do. And so I was a Planet of the Apes Star Trek kid, lost in space, and then you know the mothership of all franchises landed squarely in my eyeballs at 8 years old this summer. May 25th landed in my eyeballs, and that kind of just transformed. It just informed all of my play, all of my drawing, all of my collecting. It all kind of went from there, and so that's when I was indoctrinated.
Yeah. One of the original generation Star Wars kids. I also was 8 years old, so I know exactly what the experience was like.
Born in 68 or 69?
69, dude.
68.
Oh, Todd.
So it was. Did I freeze again?
Just briefly, for a second. Just briefly.
Yeah, briefly.
This is okay. I have you. I hardwired, like you said.
It happens. Don't worry about it. Well, maybe you guys didn't see the movie in the same theater, did you? You're in different parts.
Maybe. I don't know. Where did you see it? I don't remember. I think I don't remember. I tried.
Mac, I know he remembers where he was.
Yeah. The first place I saw was the Eden's Theater in Northbrook on Skokie Boulevard. Right by
I was
Eden's
a northwest suburb. Okay. Yeah. I forget. I didn't see it at the Gateway. My uncle says it was the Gateway, but I don't think it was the Gateway. It was like a freestanding building in the middle of like a parking lot, kind of like Woodfield 1 and 2, but not there. I don't remember the name of the theater. I was 8.
Like the Mount Prospect or something. I saw it many times at Mount Prospect. Yeah. Maybe we were in the same theater for one of those screenings.
For one of the screenings, yeah. Then I saw it a ton of times, probably at Trade Winds in Hanover Park, in the General Cinema.
Yeah, right. That music, and the drum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that music in 30, 40 years, but I still know exactly every note of that little intro for the general.
And to me, the 20th Century Fanfare is actually part of the theme song of Star Wars.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
in my brain.
That connection.
Like I hear the 20th Century Fanfare, I imagine I'm about to see the Starfield and the blast with the yellow logo.
Yeah, it's so nice to have that back. By the way, with Return of the Jedi hitting the theaters earlier this month, to have the fanfare back is they did the best they could. I know but that's really what we want to hear. You're right; it is part of the score.
Yeah, it is.
And so you said that it informed your collecting and your childhood. Were you one of those that sent off for the early bird? Were you like right away wanting to get those figures and bring them home? And
I cut out my proof of purchase seals. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you something. So
Todd is in his room with a collection that looks pretty.
This is my nerd lair. So I cut these out at the time because I had to cut apart the thing to get the proof of purchase seal.
Right.
So that I saved the card backs from back in the day.
So we've got Yoda, we've got Han in his Hoth gear, and then we've got Hoth Rebel Trooper, and they all have the
brown,
same
by
shape.
the way.
Yeah. What's that?
It's brown. Han's jacket is brown, but we all think it's blue.
Right. Because of the figure.
I've had the good fortune of seeing it up close, and it's brown.
It is brown. I don't know how they make it look. It looks blue in those, especially those exterior shots, but it's sort of like that. What was that? The gold dress a few years ago that was going around the internet. People were.
Oh yeah, was it pink or was it gold?
Right, exactly.
Where did you see the jacket?
So for like 3 years. I spent co-writing on an EA video game. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was co-writing an EA video game called Project Ragtag with the creative director Amy Hennig, and so part of our research for Star Wars for writing for the game was we went to the ranch and we went into the archives. So
whoa.
I got to plumb through that barn and see all of the toys that you're not allowed to touch. Except oddly, we were able to put on surgical gloves and look at the Macquaries.
Wow!
And so the funny part is, like, I started to tear up, as you do.
Man
in his late 40s at the time. I got misty, so I had to push away from the table so I wouldn't weep on the Macquaries.
Can you imagine if one of the Macquaries was ruined by Todd
because of my
tears? Yes, please, sir. No tears.
I just stained with my nerd tears. Yeah.
So, but the game never happened.
No, EA chose to pull the plug on it 3 years in. It was good too.
3 years.
We had been working on it for 3 years.
Oh my God!
For whatever business decisions are far out of my pay grade, I froze again. No,
you're good.
Whatever decisions that they made, they stopped the project. But it was the time of my life because we would go to the Presidio and we would work with the story group and then we would go to the ranch and do our research and go to the I remember sitting in the library with Ben Burt.
Wow!
And just, I know it was like if you had told 12-year-old, or 8-year-old Todd Stashwick that he'd be sitting in the library at Lucas Ranch with R2D2's voice, I would say, yeah, that totally tracks.
That's amazing. And is there anything you could tell us about the game? I know you're not allowed to. It
was a third-person action adventure game. Amy Hennig created Uncharted, so if you can imagine what that would be, like Star Wars, but with that Uncharted kind of gameplay style, and I believe it's out there. It sort of lived in the world of Scoundrels more than Jedi. It was more of the underbelly of the swindlers and the no good, scruffy looking nerf herders. Oh wow, you're fast. That's I cannot confirm nor deny if that is an authentic piece of art.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. There's all kinds of stuff floating around the internet.
I don't even know. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Those NDAs are still in play, but it's really when I look at your credits, Todd. I mean, you're one of those actors where I think
I almost thought you said hackers, and I always said accurate.
No, not at all. Where the list of credits, I don't know how you managed to take 3 years off to write a video game when you look at how consistently you've been working, and you've crossed into, I mean, everything from the Terminator franchise, obviously Star Trek, you had Star Wars, obviously you were working on. You were everywhere, Supernatural, everywhere. How did you have time to get sucked into writing a video game, and how'd you get involved with it?
I'm cloned.
Yes.
So
multiplicity.
I like how you say that I got sucked into writing a Star Wars game, like they twisted my arm.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh no!
Tractor field.
Do I have to?
You lost a bet.
Yeah. No. So I had been working on. A game Uncharted 4 for a bit, and then that project changed hands, and then Amy invited me over to work on Star Wars. But this time I had at the time I had sold a space pilot. A space pilot, that sounds like a job. I had sold a science fiction pilot to the Sci-Fi Channel that I was co-writing on, and so she and I, we're the children of Spielberg and Lucas, and so we shared a lot of sensibilities. Mm-hmm. Not literally. They have their own children, but we were. We're those kids of the 80s. I mean, look where I sit. So right. We were the kids of the 80s who grew up with the same influences, and so we shared a lot of sensibilities. I was a writer already, and she invited me to become part of that process. And so, you have the opportunity to write in the Star Wars universe, you say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
And the beautiful part about it is that the way that video games are written, and I'm currently working with her again on a Black Panther Captain America game for Skydance New Media and Marvel. And so what's great about the process is it's not like you write one script and you hand it in and there it is. It is a much more developmental process. It's a slower process. So it works in and around my schedule as an actor. I can write. It's not like a writer's room like on a TV show where you have deadlines like that. It's all performance capture. So we kind of generate the material we need when we need it, and it's a slower process. So it always has fit in and around my own work schedule. Because I was in Toronto for 12 Monkeys for 3 years off and on, and I would write from my hotel. That's all I do. It's other people's IP. But so I would write when I wasn't acting. I would be on the weekends, or if I had days off, I would be in the meetings for it, and it all just it all fits together.
Are you a writer who acts, Todd, or are you an actor who writes?
Oh, I'm an entertainer.
That's what I want to hear.
Showbiz.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's right.
You know what I mean? Like
I totally get it.
It's all the same. It all comes from the same place of creation, I think. I was a Second City Chicago guy, and so we always had to write our own material for that and improvise. And so it all kind of stems from that same place, and that place of necessity when you have to, need something to perform. We were the ones who had to write it. So I was doing that in my early 20s. So it's always been part of who I am as an artist and as an entertainer.
Todd, can I be a little self-indulgent here? What kind of advice would you give to a young person who is interested in going to Second City? And talk, if you can, just tell us a little bit about your experience there. And the reason I say self-indulgent is because my son is considering it.
Head north off of Wells. I think it's the greatest thing he will do for himself. How old is he?
He's 20.
Oh, go run, don't walk. He will have he will make friends for life. He will get skills that he will use for the rest of his life. I started at Second City when I was 22, hired as an actor at 23, I believe. And I was there from like 90 to 95.
Wow.
It is an amazing community. It is a resource that Chicago has uniquely. There are other satellite Second Cities, but meaning like Chicago is kind of like the Mecca for a lot of. Look at him. There's the baby face.
Is that Second City era Todd Stashwick?
That's Second City era Todd Stashwick. You are quick on the keyboard. And so I can't recommend it enough. It is the best training I think an actor can ever get, because it keeps you nimble. It keeps you fresh. Hones your skills. To this day, I apply the skills that I learned performing and writing and acting with Second City.
Perfect. I will definitely play this video for him. It's something I wish I did when I was younger. I ended up going to Columbia College, Chicago instead. But
for what?
Second City.
Star Wars podcasting.
Star Wars well, it eventually led me to Star Wars podcasting. But yeah, radio podcasting.
Radio broadcasting, right?
Yeah, and right out of there, I went to the Loop, where I stayed. For
I literally was wearing my Loop T-shirt yesterday. Where Chicago?
That makes me feel so good to hear you say that. Yeah. The Loop lives on, and your career, obviously, from Second City to Picard. How did the planets all line up so that you would get the opportunity to star as Captain Liam Shaw in Picard?
It's so strange because look, I mean, we are of the same, right? So we are Midwestern Chicago nerds.
Yes.
And so we came from that same place. So my entertainment was always like Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, and I always loved that stuff. Meanwhile, all I ever wanted to do was be Bill Murray. So there I am. So all I ever wanted to be was Bill Murray, and so hence the drive to go to Second City, because Ghostbusters and Meatballs and Stripes, and that's kind of
course,
that's the snark from which I come. So when I came to LA, I was up for Saturday Night Live in like '95, and I thought that was going to be the trajectory.
Yes. Did you get an audition for SNL?
Yeah, I did. I was with a bunch of us. It was the same year that Keckner and Nancy Walls were hired.
And
so this was '95. Yeah. So this was '95, but it was enough to say, hey, it's time to get out of Chicago and swim in New York for a little while. And so I went there. Then I came to LA, and the first job, I had done some pilots, some half-hour sitcom pilots, but the first job I booked in LA when I just came to look for an apartment was Angel, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff, and so I was covered in makeup, and I played a demon, and so I slowly started to plant my feet in two different areas. So half my career, I was doing like Dharma and Greg and Will and Grace and all the And shows. And then the other half of my career, I was doing Supernatural and Buffy and Angel and Enterprise. So I was kind of getting so many of my dreams come true because I was making the kind of shows that I watched a lot, which were the genre shows, and then simultaneously I was I was doing half-hour sitcoms, and it made me very happy. And I often would get cast in dramas, the Law and Orders or whatever, as the guy who would sort of find the funny in weird places. And so I booked a job in 2014, a guest star role on a show that was which was a television spinoff or a television version of the film 12 Monkeys, and that guest star role turned into a series regular role from season 2, 3, and 4, and the showrunner of 12 Monkeys was a man by the name of Terry Matalas, who then went on to showrun Star Trek Picard. The summer of 2021, he says, Todd, we've got we've created a Starfleet captain for you to play. I immediately said, that's amazing. I can't wait to get to see who plays it, because I know how this industry works.
Hey, lower expectations. It went by really quick. I hope you caught it. Todd letting us in a little bit on behind the scenes of Hollywood, but it was actually written for you. He had that in mind.
Was written, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and apparently in the before the character was officially named, he was called Captain Stashwick in the writers' room, and so a lot of the writing staff on that show from Picard, Sean Tretta, Chris Monfett, Terry Matalas, they were writers on 12 Monkeys, so they already kind of knew how to tailor a thing to this garbage truck of a voice, and they knew how to write to whatever it is that I do. And so they knew what they wanted for this role, and they tailored it. So like when I actually hit the set with the scripts, it felt like I'd already been playing the role.
It really felt like it was a role that we had been familiar with for a very long time the second you hit the screen. And I don't know what it is, but there was just some kind of connection I felt. And then we have a quick video clip here. You said this line when you were, well, this is the famous line that's going to stick to you forever. And it certainly opened up my eyes and ears. Go ahead and hit it, Jason.
I'm just some dipshit from Chicago.
There it is. and the feeling of relief that washed over me, knowing that dipshits from Chicago exist in centuries from now. You know, what is that? The 25th century? Is that Star Trek? Wow. Yeah, it just made me, we survive into the era of Star Trek. We thrive. We're in charge of.
We ascend in rank. We get our own starship.
It's about time for all dipshits of Chicago. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of all dipshits of Chicago.
When I hit that line, when they gave me that script and I saw that line, I had to chuckle, because that was Terry putting that in there as an homage to who I am.
But it's not just you. It's a collective community of dipshits from Chicago, a collective community. So thank you on behalf of all of us. And again, it's like how you said at the beginning of the show, which I thought was so kind, how you found comfort in hearing us talk about Star Wars, because we're from Chicago. And well, I am. Jason's from the Cleveland area.
Jason's from Cleveland. My sister lives in Wapakoneta, Ohio.
Oh yes.
So half my family is from like Lima and Lafayette and that whole the more western side of the state. So I spent half my childhood in Ohio, so I have a great deal of affection for it.
Oh, it's very. There you go. I'm glad to hear that. And then Indiana is just right in between, and like, who cares?
It's where you drive through to get to Ohio. No, I love it.
It's the flyover state.
Fort Wayne.
It's the flyover state for Illinois and Ohio. But when I heard you say that line, that's when all of a sudden the light bulb went off, and I'm like, that's the connection I'm feeling with this guy. And then to find out you actually are from the area, that just pushed it over the top for me. So I have to say, I'm so happy that we've been able to make this connection on the show.
Yeah.
I did find out though that you've been listening to RFR for a while, and you told me you reached out on Facebook a while ago, so I had to go dig up the message. And I was like, gosh, I hope I didn't just blow him off or whatever.
Well, I mean, look, it was during I was going to be in town for Celebration. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna just see if I can make the connection. But again, I can't even imagine how swamped y'all are during Celebration with the amount.
It was right like at that week, yeah. But I mean, I thought I'm like, yeah, I hope we can hook up. But now you're a friend of the show.
I'm hurt.
So you'll
I'm
it's
very hurt.
definitely gonna. It's definitely
Well, if we'd have known you were going to be a Starfleet captain, Todd.
Star Trek before you talk to me.
I want to talk a little bit about this character, and I mean, Mac made the connection because of Chicago, but I made a connection because I felt like, in the same way that Han Solo was written to sort of provide an everyman's set of eyes on these incredible events, that is the utility that Shaw played. He kind of helped us understand that this was kind of crazy and kind of wild. Did you see that as an influence in how you played the part?
Well, look, all I've ever wanted to be is Han Solo. I mean, I literally have,
oh my gosh.
I don't know, I can imagine quite a bit tattooed on my arm.
Wow.
Wow.
And
holy smokes.
It's, I bleed for Star Wars. Well, but look, to be fair, I have my badge on the other arm. So I think what was great about Shaw is he was a bit of a Greek chorus to these legends, and he was a bit of a kind of a postmodern examination of Next Generation. He was able to view in a very modern context to go, these space cowboys that we've come to love that have traipsed through the galaxy, there are some consequences for their actions.
Yes.
And
right.
And for better or for worse, he was in the wake of some of it. And I think, I mean, ultimately he understands that being Locutus, being taken by the Borg, and unleashing hellfire on the fleet. He understands, I think, deep down that Picard was held hostage by this situation, but he also believes that their cowboy ways poked the bear in the first place, and that they played in traffic and got hit, and he suffered the consequences of their reckless behavior, and so he's calling them to account for it, and I think that was refreshing for a lot of people. It also made great grist for conflict, for scenes, and to be the one guy who is able to, almost like you said, Jimmy, to look at the audience and go, are you seeing this? Like when weird shit is happening outside the window, he's the guy that goes, yeah, these are strange new worlds. They're really strange.
Yeah.
And to be able to still have that sort of reverence and awe of discovery, but also to go, it's really weird out here.
Yes.
It's really weird.
It was like that character took us as an audience with him. The other thing that I thought was so interesting about Shaw is when we're first introduced to him, and he's sitting there at dinner, and you can tell there's like a formality about the way he carries himself. Yet at this end, chain of command means everything, the hierarchy. But at the same time, he has this incredibly plain-spoken way of talking, and it just really made for a fascinating, multi-dimensional character, truly.
Yeah, I have to give all the props to the writers and all of the writers, even, I mean, not just the 12 Monkeys people that I worked with, but all the writers really sharpened their pencils with the voices of all the characters on this season of the show. And they, everybody had new discoveries. And the beautiful part, I think, ultimately about the fact that it was Picard and not Next Generation. And I was a character on Picard. I'm not a TNG character. And to that, they gave him his due and his space to breathe and his own arc to explore in this show, and a meaningful one. but to his voice, yeah, they really knew how to write to me, and they really enjoyed his they kind of celebrated his blue collarness.
Yes.
And he was a mechanic. Like he's a grease monkey. That's literally what he was. My dad was, I always call it about a no nonsense grace. My father fixed machines and, name stitched over the pocket. First out the door, last home, never complained about his job. And so I always described my father as having this no nonsense grace, this blue collar elegance.
Yes.
And I tried to bring that to Shaw, even in the way that I took my captain's chair and the way I sat as if I was looking at an engine. Like everything was a problem that needed solving. And he would always look for the right tool to solve it. And sometimes that tool was actually taking the advice of 7 of 9. And having a dissenting opinion in his ear, because he knows he's not always right. He's cranky, but he is a good captain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always great when you have the character that you might disagree with, or in some ways it was like that teacher that kind of rode you really hard. But man, if you got a compliment from him, it meant everything in the world, because you didn't give compliments lightly or freely. You really earned it. And that's why the ending is so powerful. I think that's what 7 gets, is she really earned his respect.
Yeah. What's interesting is if you actually, when you watch all of it and you see his hologram spoilers at the end, he respected her before they even went on this specific journey of season 3. He was going to promote her before all of the events that led to the finale. So he was no dummy. He chose her for a reason.
Yeah.
Even though she would fly in the face of a lot of his own instincts, but that's why he chose her. Is because he needed a dissenting opinion.
That's what great leaders do. I mean, they have to surround themselves, because otherwise, what good are they if they're just hearing an echo chamber of their own thoughts, their own views, and all of that?
Agreed.
I have to say, your words, no nonsense, elegance, blue collar grace. I mean, that's very Chicago, I think. I think all of us Chicagoans kind of picture ourselves in those glowing type of terms that also keep us firmly grounded. And I think the character of Han Solo also shares that with Shaw.
Grace. Yeah. That he has that blue collar elegance. Yeah. Like, sorry, princess. Like there's something there's something quite wonderful. Like Shaw's skills did not come from academia, but they came from experience and trauma. Like clearly his motivation comes from trauma, in that he's going to really try to earn the reason that he was lucky number 10, and make sure that he keeps as many of his people alive during these exploratory missions through protocol, through chain of command, everything that you were saying. He clings to them because they keep people alive. And it was chain of command that allowed him to survive. So it means a lot to him.
Were you surprised at all at how much the character has caught on with Star Trek fans? I mean, I see there's already fan fiction about him. There's you see a lot of fan art. You don't want to read all the fan fiction, just let me tell you. But no, there is all kinds of fan art and all that. When you were playing the character, or maybe even reading the script for the first time, were you thinking to yourself, like, this is going to be a Star Trek character people are going to remember?
That's all I thought. Of course not. Of course not. Could you imagine, just doing scenes going, they're gonna love this? No.
Yeah, they're really gonna love me. Yeah, just wait till they hear this. See this.
Back up. Just watch this. Watch this. This is gonna be so mean.
But you are a fan. You're a fan of this stuff. So I wonder, did the character jump off the page to you to say, this is the kind of character I'd like to see?
Okay, so the short answer is no, I had no idea how he was going to resonate. Then the other side of it is, yes, I think they'd think he was fun. He was written fun. Like he's intentionally humorous. And not even like the character has a sense of humor and he has a sense of sarcasm and he leans into it. Like he intentionally plays it, which is also refreshing, I think, because there was a certain formality and dare I say stiffness to a lot of old school or especially TNG more than even because I think Kirk had his little kind of swagger and wink. But I think Shaw meeting the next gen crew, I think his kind of loose improvisational style, and again, like I said, all I've been doing my whole life is just trying to be Bill Murray. So trying to bring that kind of knowing smirk to things is fun, and I think it's fun, so I hope that other people would think it's fun. As far as his resonance with the fans, you can never imagine that, and that is such a mitzvah, as they say. It's really humbling. It's really truly humbling. The biggest humbling part is when, and it gets me a little emotional, is how veterans have reached out to me and people with survivor's guilt and people with PTSD have reached out to me and say, this character really, I felt seen and I felt it moved me. And that is like beyond what one could ever hope for as an artist, is that your work touches people on a very fundamental personal level. And that's been the most moving thing. I mean, I enjoy all of the no.
Yeah, that must be extremely rewarding, and it must have also been extremely rewarding to you. Take yourself outside of the character and outside of the gig, but you're standing there with the original cast and crew of the next generation. That must have affected you as a fan, and you had certain pinch myself moments along the way.
What I will say is, while I'm also the eternal 8-year-old, I'm also I'm an actor who's been acting for 30 years, and I've been very fortunate to be able to work with accomplished people, and that's what we strive for. Now, with this project specifically, I had worked with Jonathan Frakes as a director before, and Terry Matalas was my showrunner for 4 seasons, so I wasn't walking into a completely unfamiliar room where I was like, gosh, I hope they like me. I was invited in like a family member they hadn't met before, like a cousin. Like, Frakes was like, I know Todd, I've worked with Todd. Terry was like, oh, this is Stashwick. We've spent a lot of time together. And then given all the freedom to play the role the way I wanted to. So I never felt intimidated by it. What I felt was responsibility to the task, and simultaneously making sure that it was never lost on me, this wonderful opportunity. And when I would walk around my bridge and I would look at my science officer and my helmsman and my communications and sit in my chair, and there was one great wonderful moment that I will always hold in my little nerdy heart, is I was sitting in my captain's chair, and we were in between takes, and Patrick Stewart was sitting next to me, and Brent Spiner came in because he was on set for getting his contacts fitted or something, and he walks over to Patrick and he starts horsing around with him. They hadn't seen each other yet, and Patrick stands up and he goes, "Oh, have you met Todd Stashwick? He's one of us."
Awesome.
Holy
Does he mean?
cow.
I hope he didn't mean android.
He meant British, I think. No, it just they welcomed me in without missing a beat, and so any reservations or nerves I had didn't ever manifest. I was never like daunted by. in many ways, it was like I've been pretending to be a Starfleet captain since I was 6 years old with my Kirk action figure, and so it's like I've been preparing for this job my whole life.
Right, sure, exactly. Of
course. So looking across the table and going, this is a scene where I'm pretending to be a Starfleet captain, telling off a Starfleet captain. Oh, I get to play with the real deal. That's awesome.
Amazing.
It makes my job easier, and they all were just. I tend to get more nervous around musicians because there's a magic that they do that I don't. And actors, especially when I meet actors as peers on set, I'm able to treat the job with a professional capacity, and the fan of me is what got me there in the first place. The fan inside.
That's a great way to look at it.
The fan inside me is what moved me to want to be an actor because all I wanted to be was Han Solo. So I play acted as Han Solo as a kid, and with my Han Solo action figures, and when playing in the yard as Han Solo. So my nerdiness is what propelled me into being an actor in the first place. So it's the fanboy in me. I have one more story for you, but the fanboy in me doesn't exist on set because it's like it's an extension of my acting. Am I honored and excited to meet these people? Yeah, but I don't think of myself as a giddy fan when I'm working with them.
Of course not.
The other side of that coin,
here
there is one.
Here's the truth.
I was shooting I've told this story before, but I was shooting a Western with Ewan McGregor, and we were working in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Ewan McGregor and Boyd Holbrook. And we were working in New Mexico. And one day we wanted to we had the day off, and we're like, they wanted let's go get some Western clothes. All right. So we all piled into a car and we went to this clothing shop, and they were trying on Western shirts in a dressing room. And I was looking at the racks, and around the corner walks Katie Sackhoff. Now, I'm a huge Battlestar fan. So I start fanboying. I'm like, I'm going to be stupid. I don't know what to say to Katie Sackhoff. And my brain is going, Obi-Wan, we have to leave because I can't handle that Starbucks here. So it's all context. It's all context. Had I not been working with Ewan and I'd been working with Katie, I'd be like, fine. I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. I'm a big fan of Battlestar. Great to work with you. Here we go.
Right.
But if I didn't know Ewan because of work, I'd be like, oh my God, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it's all about context. If I was at SDCC on the con floor and I didn't know Patrick Stewart, I would be like, oh, that's Jean-Luc Picard. That's Professor X. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the fanboy in me would live there. But walking onto set with a fellow actor, I'm able to be the professional actor that I am, and then still appreciate and enjoy the fact that I get to do this with a person whose work that I admire.
Yeah, it's kind of like the rookie in the major leagues, and he gets to face off against his all-time idol who's pitching for the other team. There's that moment of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm standing on the same playing field, but I still have to get a hit against this guy, and I'm going to be swinging for the fences. Don't you think twice about that?
It also helps that I'm 54. Like it helps that I've been acting for this long, and I've worked with Michael Douglas, and I've worked with Dick Van Dyke, and I've worked with Owen Wilson. I've had the opportunity to work with people whose work that I admire, but at the same time, I don't feel like nervous or worried that I'm not going to be good or that I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm more like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to bring my A game, and this is going to be a blast. And what a memory and what a treat. And it's not lost on me. The experience isn't lost on me.
And of course, TV reunions. I mean, getting the Next Generation cast on screen together is momentous, but getting the Seinfeld cast together for the big reunion on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No, this is the guy that stopped the Seinfeld reunion from happening.
Oh, he tried to. He tried to until Larry saved your life from the tick bite. You had Lyme disease, and Larry was able to diagnose that. Thus, Seinfeld, it was back on. But you played the NBC executive that Larry went to pitch the whole story. He asked Larry for the Seinfeld reunion. So that must
Andy Goodman.
Being on the set of Seinfeld, because they recreated the entire set.
They did. That was cool. Yeah. Again, like I have moments like, you know, like I was sharing the moment of holding the Macquaries and seeing, you know, Luke's lightsaber and Han's blaster, and looking at the diner and looking at the Seinfeld apartment and being part of that, being on the bridge. I got to walk the bridge of the Enterprise D. I got to so I've had these wonderfully pinch me moments, as you said, where I have to take the time to not let it be lost on me and feel the gratitude that my career and my hard work has opened these opportunities to me, and to put whatever thumbprint I can on these iconic things that shaped our culture. It's been amazing.
I do have to ask, Todd, the set of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and we know we got lots of Star Wars fans screaming at us right now. Talk about Star Wars, as they do. But
take it away for a second.
The show is so interesting. It's either the best written show, best written comedy of all time, or it's the best improvised comedy of all time. What perspective can you lend to that?
Curb, well, it's really well constructed. The way that we would do the scenes, Larry, they would give us the premise, they would give us the departure and destination, right? So they would say the scene's going to start here, and you got to make sure that it ends here. And what happens in the middle, we will improvise, and then. Oh, that part worked. Do that again. Oh, that part. Make sure you say this. So then they start kind of shaping it on the inside. So, oh, that's a good gag. Try it again here, but make sure that you let Larry cut you off there, or keep talking over Larry there, and don't let him get a word in edgewise. So their process is so honed that they know what they're doing. And then the writers are on set, and they're pitching you things that they're coming up with in the moment as they're listening to the scene progress. So it's a fascinating process. And Larry, you know, it's so funny to watch him go from Larry, the character, and Larry, the man who is the executive producer, creator of the show, because they're vastly different people. Wow. Like in a good way. Like it's like Larry, the director, is just the not the director, but like the creator. He's very like, he can turn like boom, he'll pop out. I'll say that again to the great, and then just jump back into being Larry, and then just like the process is really quite elegant, and it's really quite beautiful to be a part of it. Coming from Second City to know how improvisation shapes the scene, and then how they then shape it again in editing with music and everything. It's pretty cool.
The subject, Jim talked about reunions, and I before we move on to the Yoda questionnaire, which I don't know if you were prepped for this, but the Yoda questionnaire is coming up. We only save it for the most special guests. But before we do that, I know that listeners of this show would tar and feather us if we didn't ask you about the way that these reunions are handled when they're done really, really well, and maybe when they're done not so well. And you have been on the set of essentially the Seinfeld reunion, obviously the Star Trek The Next Generation reunion. As a Star Wars fan, thinking as a fan, and the way that the sequel trilogy played out. Where do you see that one in terms of fan expectation, execution? Somebody who's been there in the trenches and know the risks, the pros, the cons, doing it different ways. How do you, as a Star Wars fan, sort of reconcile that?
Here's where so I will lay the foundation of this part of the conversation. I am a creator, not a critic. And so when facing forward, I mean, I will, if we go to Lou Malnati's, I'll get into the weeds with you. Ultimately speaking, in a public forum, I have always vowed to be a creator, not a critic. So, from that point of view, I will then go on to say these things are not easy.
Right.
As a creator, these things, there is no way to satisfy everyone's headcanon. I will, and I largely enjoyed the sequel trilogy. As a fan, as a writer, I have thoughts on them, but I largely enjoyed them. Also, you can never unring A New Hope from just Star Wars from 1977. That's all I'll ever need. Like if you said they're going to keep making Star Wars long past you're dead, I'm like, okay. They're going to caulk in every nook and cranny of the galaxy far, far away. Okay. No one can ever take A New Hope away from me.
Yes.
And I will have that form. I don't ever need to see anything else. I can just rewatch that one. And do you know what the best, and I've said this about Trek, the best Star Wars is the one that you love the most.
Right.
So there are kids that grew up with Phantom Menace, and that is their Star Wars. There are kids that grew up with Clone Wars, and that is their Star Wars. There are kids that grew up with Mandalorian being their first experience in the universe. And that's theirs. And if that brings them joy, and that is the memories that are tethered to their relatives who introduced it to them, to their experiences with their friends banging cardboard tubes in the backyard, then good, because we live in freaking cynical, dark times, man. And if something can bring you joy, may the force be freaking with you. So do that. So, do I think so I found a lot of joy in the sequel trilogy, and probably for nostalgic reasons at times, and I also think there's tremendously great performances in all of them, and do I agree with story choices or execution sometimes? No, but I could say that on a lot of things. But none of them are ever going to touch my 1977 A New Hope. And not because people will swear and say that Empire's the best of them. Empire's the best. I'm like, okay, but I was 8, and you're not going to unring that bell in my heart.
Yeah, I'm a few years younger than you guys, so for me it's the 1983. It's Return of the Jedi. That was my Star Destroyer that flew overhead, and Vader coming down the ramp. But I love what you said about and that's really why I asked you the question, because you've been on the inside of this stuff and on the outside as a fan. But your point about it, it's hard, and I think sometimes we as fans don't realize how difficult and challenging this stuff is, the weight of the legacy and all of that. Also, and I think I may have heard you guys talk about this before, and I live in a very specific camp. Whether I'm right or wrong, I'm right for me. And I believe Star Wars is a genre. It's not a setting. And I think I think that cocktail of the genre that is what George created it is a samurai Western fantasy in space. And so you go,
it's also a 30 screwball comedy. You came here in that thing, you're braver than I thought. Like it's should I get out and push? It might. Like it's a screwball. So it is a very specific cocktail to me. And so I think just saying it's Ord Mantell, it's a planet, it's a city, it's a ship, and therefore do I think 1,000 stories can be set in this galaxy? Sure. Do I feel that it has to be this genre cocktail for it to feel like Star Wars to me? Yes, and both are true. You can have Andor, which is nothing like a screwball comedy, and they will call it Star Wars. Then you can have Muppet Babies. I don't know what this new show is. It's Star Wars Babies. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Like, it's Young Jedi.
Yes.
Young Jedi.
Young Jedi.
I call it Muppet Babies because it's like it reminds me of Muppet Babies. But you can have that, and that's going to appeal to things. But to me, I always go back to A New Hope and going, that cocktail is so specific to me that I have a very hard measuring stick that I hold everything up against. That's not fair to the other products. It's just where I live, and it's fine. It's fine, and I'm not getting into fights about it.
Right.
I just go. I'll watch that again. I'll watch that once, and then I'll watch this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take in almost all of it because I think it's fun.
Yeah, that's a really healthy way to look at it. It really is. Todd, we're coming to the top of the hour. I just want to make sure, do we have a couple more minutes? I want to make sure you're cool.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Todd, you know, when I'm hearing you talk about 1977, when we first saw Star Wars on the screen, you and me were the same age. So I feel like we were like separated at birth or something, you know?
Let's take that year alone. Ready? Star Wars, Rankin and Bass Hobbit, Dungeons and Dragons, Atari, and Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit, of course.
Like if you want to go, if you cut me and you looked at the rings of a tree and you went, what's Stashwick? He's Star Wars, he's Rankin and Bass Hobbit, he's Atari, he's Smokey and the Bandit, and he's I mean, it's was such a thunderclap of a year.
We recorded Smokey and the Bandit on our very first VCR. I think it was the first thing we ever recorded was the network television debut of Smokey and the Bandit with all of Jackie Gleason's cursing and swearing all edited up. And, it sounded very bizarre.
It holds up. I rewatched it recently.
The film itself, Smoking, I've watched it recently too. It's a great film.
And you get a little afraid going back to some of it because some of it is just like it can be super racially insensitive, it could be super sexist, but then you watch Smokey and the Bandit and you go, how did it manage to bob and weave through all the pitfalls of a lot of 70s filmmaking and still come out a film that you go, she kidnaps him. So she's this like liberated woman who kidnaps him, and there is blatant Southern racism in it, but it's Jackie Gleason and he's wrong. Like so it really
punching bag of the
he's the butt of the joke. He's the punching bag, and you go, wow, this film still kind of works in 2023.
It sure
for
does,
a film and so I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and I also play the Star Wars RPG game, Edge of the Empire. And so I've basically made the Bandit as Han Solo. Like that's my character.
Genius.
Yeah. So it's like I play Burt Reynolds' Bandit as Han Solo ish, and I have the time of my life. But yeah,
Jason, try to find the picture online. A fan painted or somehow put the Trans Am bird on the hull of the Millennium Falcon. Have you ever seen this? It's like the most amazing Star Wars Smoking the Bandit mashup of all time. It's the Millennium Falcon, and it's painted like
that film
Burt Reynolds Trans Am.
Yeah, but cut from the same cloth. We like our starter pistol went off at the same time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I wonder how, this is something we probably talk about off air, but I just wonder how we connect as far as things like music goes and
Sticks
and other things along those sticks. Well, I mean, that's about as local as it gets,
Yeah.
You say Sticks.
Sticks and Zeppelin and
Zeppelin.
I'm a classic rock guy, Kansas.
Yes.
Boston. Those were like the bands so when I was playing D&D in the late 70s, early 80s, those were the bands that we listened to when we were rolling dice and being wizards. Oh,
that's what it was. It wasn't the Millennium Falcon. It was the land speeder decked out to look
that.
like Trans Am. That makes more sense, actually. Look at that.
I need to own that.
You want to take your kids to school in the morning in that, don't you?
Is somebody selling that?
This is on Pinterest. What is this?
It's probably Smokey and the Star Wars. So it's not something you can buy.
It doesn't. It doesn't look like it. But you know what? We'll put the word out to Rebel Force Radio listeners. If you'd like to send Todd Stashwick a custom decked out land speeder.
Yeah. Could you imagine taking that eastbound and down on the Dune Sea? Yeah, wow.
Saying,
amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
They're thirsty.
Well, we got the Yoda questionnaire for you, Todd. I don't know if
let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Yoda created these questions. Swank has a whole rap about it, so I'm going to turn it over.
Yeah. So these questions were written by the great Jedi Master himself. He faxed them to us. Dagobah is very technologically behind.
It's a little, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have the email working. And the thing about these questions is that there are no wrong answers. Now, there are answers that are more right than others, but there are no wrong answers. And do we have him? Mr. Richard Cheese will be bringing you in here.
The Yoda questionnaire.
There it is. That is the real Richard Cheese with the official Yoda questionnaire intro theme.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
So Todd, what is your favorite Star Wars line? The line in Star Wars?
It's the one that I have emblazoned on my arm, and that's,
of course.
I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit.
There it is. What Han Solo says to Princess Leia.
Yeah. No,
hey, that's a great line.
Or says it to Luke. That's right. Says it to Luke.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a great line. I mean, just as it stands on its own.
Exactly. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
To a guy like you and your creativity and talent. Yeah. Yes, perfect.
And saying, admitting ignorance and saying, well, we can make it up.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know you said you're a creator, not a critic, but since we're on the light side of the Force, we're going to venture onto the dark side. What is your least favorite Star Wars line? Is there a line in Star Wars that every time you hear it, you go, "Ugh."
Makes you cringe?
The women and the children.
There it is from episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I find that
not just the men.
It's a heartbreaking scene, obviously, but it's just hard, and it's just so brutal. Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this. It hardly even pays to ask you, but I will. Who or what? We got to say what because we want to be inclusive here. Who or what is your favorite Star Wars character?
Han Solo.
Han Solo.
All the way.
No hesitation.
Solo.
No
when
hesitation.
he says, when you hear him in Rise of Skywalker go, "Hey kid, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done. I am just
finally.
I am done."
Yes.
I'm crying.
I feel the same way.
So
Todd.
hard. I'm crying so hard. Then from that point on, and then when Lando goes, none of us knew what we were doing. Like, it's just so. I love the feeling and the. It's just hearing Han Solo say, "Hey kid."
Hey kid.
Anyway,
it must be something for us original generation fans because I had a strong emotional reaction to those scenes in The Rise of Skywalker, and I know a lot of people they don't understand.
I was next to him.
Where I'm coming from
I can vouch for it.
Yeah,
you know, I always say to people, when you know, a friend of mine has this great phrase, when somebody's like, I hated that, and then I just go, wow, it's like we're two different people.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Oh, so you liked a thing that another person didn't like. Surprise.
Yeah, right.
It's a big ass world. Like,
if everything appealed to everyone, it'd be a boring ass world, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now who or what, Todd, is your least favorite Star Wars character? Who's the character that just gets under your skin? If you had never saw it or him or her or them again, it'd be too soon.
Yeah, look, I'm not too keen on like the Newt Gunrays of the world.
What did you say?
That's probably
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a little cringy. Yeah, that's exactly
I
why.
wouldn't say problematic. But
Okay.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
There was a lot of talk about that when Phantom Menace was released. A lot of talk about that.
I mean, and ultimately, I think ultimately with a lot of that, I personally would have preferred, because they did it a lot in the original films, I would have personally preferred alien language with subtitles.
Yeah, me too.
For all of them, for like Jar Jar, and like have the same performers. The actors were fantastic, I think, but I think the world building could have been really cool if they all spoke in alien dialects with subtitles, like Greedo or Jabba. I think that would have been cool. Tewanawanga.
Yeah. Well, nowadays they don't even have exotic ways of speaking, or
no.
You know, I'm thinking about some characters from The Mandalorian, most notably that pirates, Horatio
broader
Sands.
appeal, I think. It's broader appeal. I
they
think when you're trying to get a wider audience. I mean, I get all the reasons.
Yeah.
I get all the reasons. To me, I was spoiled by Greedo. How many times have I said that?
Spoiled by Greedo.
Yeah.
That should be a T-shirt.
Well, I don't know. I just saw Spoiled by Greedo down at the Agora the other week, and they were fantastic. Fantastic.
They opened up with Bantha.
Who knew?
Todd, what Star Wars moment always makes you smile? No matter how many times you see it, you always get a big smile on your face.
You're all clear, kid. Let's blow this thing and go home.
There you go.
Love it. And what Star Wars moment? Yeah. You got another one?
Go ahead. Nope, go.
Oh, what Star Wars moment always makes you sad? Brings a little tear to the eye.
Binary Sunset. It's my favorite piece of music. I know what it's like to be that kid from the middle of the world staring out at big dreams. I know what it's like. And so when I was Luke looking out at the sunset, to his future, to his horizons. Yeah. And so the Binary Sunset moment in A New Hope, that's part of my tattoo, is
there it is.
Luke in the Binary Sunset. That moment, it means a lot to me. It's kind of like why I connected to the Muppet movie too. Like the idea of leaving your place of comfort and dreaming about doing things outside of your comfort zone and having whatever your dream is. For me, it was acting in Los Angeles and Hollywood. Luke and Kermit the Frog, I have a lot of kinship with.
Wow.
It's the hero's journey. It really is. And last question, if another Star Wars movie was to be made, and we know that there are more on the way, but this is special. If another Star Wars movie was to be made and you were in it, you, Todd, and George Lucas came back as director, what would you like to hear the maker say to you after he said cut on your last scene?
Well, after he said faster, more intense. Well, you don't expect a lot of words from George. Like,
right?
I'll give you he probably give you a good job. I held the door for the bathroom for him at Lucasfilm, and talk about a fanboy moment.
At Lucasfilm
for the bathroom.
It's at the ranch.
I was opening the door to the bathroom, and he was walking out. And I was like,
Whoa.
That's the master. And you just want to stop him and go, thank you for my childhood and my adulthood and my all. But I kept my cool. Obi-Wan, we got to go. Yeah. The master's here. I would love for him to say, see you on the next one, right? Come on.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. Leave the door open.
That's a great one.
For more.
That's a great one.
Todd, you have been awesome.
I would have, if I walked into the bathroom after George Lucas, I would have found the toilet seat that was still warm. And I would have, because then I would have known that the master sat there.
But what if it wasn't him? What if he stood?
One of the first stories that we covered in our podcast adventures 15 years ago was an eBay auction with a toilet from the big house there in Skywalker Ranch that was going up for auction. Somebody had, and they claimed it to be George Lucas's toilet.
I have a large Star Wars collection. One of my favorite pieces that I have is I have the original pencils of the cover of Star Wars #2 for Marvel.
Wow!
Damn! It's the swing wide, bend the blah blah blah.
It's the Cantina. The Cantina aliens.
I have the original pencils from that comic book. The one that I'm really trying to locate is the Mythos Obi-Wan Kenobi statue of him, the Nomad. It's a great statue of him. It's sort of, you can switch out the heads. You can put on Obi-Wan or you can put on Ewan or Alec.
Have you been to Rancho Obi-Wan? Because you can play with that statue there. You haven't been to Rancho Obi-Wan.
Yeah, no.
You got to get there.
That's on the list. It's on the list. I've listened to you talk to Steve and my dear friends Kyle and Paul Bateman. Yeah. And so it's on the list. But yeah, so there's some Star Wars items out there. I'm slowly building an R2D2 with my buddy Michael McMasters is helping me. He's the go-to droid guy. So I'm building an R2 unit. Slowly.
That's great. He's a good dude. He's helped me out a lot.
He's good. Are you a builder?
Wow.
No. With a helmet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Oh. Hey, Todd, do you ever make it back to the Chicago area? Do you still have family?
All the time. My mom lives out in Huntley. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I came back actually. I will. I come back to go to GaryCon in Lake Geneva. It's a big D&D convention that's there.
Gary Gygax.
Gary's son Luke now has a convention every year that I'm a part of. And then we usually come out for Christmas. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
we should go.
I'd love to have you out to see my collection. What's that?
I said we should go to the Galloping Ghost.
That's what I was just going to recommend.
I haven't been yet. I've heard you and Whit were talking about it.
Yeah,
but I haven't been myself.
Yeah, I've taken Sam there, and I'd love to go there with you sometime, man. Because, like I said,
we'll bend an elbow.
I think we're separated at birth. I really do, and it's really been a pleasure to finally get you here on Rebel Force Radio. And do you have where can we see you next?
I'm currently on. I did a few episodes of this Jennifer Garner show on Apple TV Plus called "The Last Thing He Told Me."
Yeah, I saw that.
And all episodes of Star Trek Picard are now streaming on Paramount Plus. You can also watch 12 Monkeys on Hulu, and if you're younger,
I recommend that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're a younger set, you can see me in the live-action Kim Possible film on Disney Plus, where I play Dr. Draken.
Nice.
So yeah.
You know what? I got to tell you, I woke up. We sleep with the TV on in my house, and we fell asleep to the Hallmark Channel. My wife loves the Golden Girls. Fell asleep to that, and I woke up the other morning, I swear to God, and there was an episode of Reba with Todd Stashwick. And an episode of Reba, Todd was behind the bar. He was a bartender.
Amazing.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It was like, wow, Todd has entered my dreams and my my mornings.
I am omnipresent.
You really are.
I mean, I've been in LA for 23 years. So I've been very fortunate to worm my way into just a very vast amount of television. So
awesome.
yeah, I pop up, and now that Picard has happened, people suddenly go, "Oh my God, you were the guy in the thing." I'm like, yeah,
you were that guy.
Oh, and you also have a book with drink recipes that also features an RPG game. I mean, what don't you do?
So I have a website that I created, a merch site called the Nerd Circus, where I sell like D&D paraphernalia, and I co-created a D&D inspired cocktail book called Mystic Libations.
Yes.
And that came up during the pandemic. There it is. And it was just idle hands, man. And see that's a picture of my I have a signature Dungeons and Dragons table that I did with this gentleman whose company is called the Weather Dragon, and it's a D&D table, and that topper comes off, and it has a recessed area for minis. I take my D&D very seriously.
Yes.
And
no
so
wonder you and Kyle are such good friends.
Yeah.
You ever get involved in his games over in Joe's dungeon?
I have yet to roll dice with Kyle. And we plan to. But yeah, so and again, it's this is the stuff that planted the seed for me becoming an actor in the first place. So I spend my adult life living the childhood of my dreams.
Looks like the book is sold out, man. You got to get some more copies.
Currently, I think a few are going to go on sale next week, and then you can get them at my buddy TraderBrandon.com. You can get his. He has a stash in Florida that he's mailing out too. And so then we also need a publisher, because we'd love to do a second printing. So if you know any publishers out there that want to print a D&D inspired cocktail book, give us a holler.
Well, D&D was, were you happy to see the movie come out?
I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
I definitely, that's on my, I've not been into D&D much at all, but everybody that I know and trust thought the movie was great. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. It was a lot of fun.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy, Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a hoot. It was it's a popcorn film. I love popcorn films.
Yeah. It's
Can
awesome.
I just say, I really love that line you said about a minute ago. You're living your adult life. You're spending your adult life living the childhood of your dreams. I think that's a fantastic line.
Yeah.
Well, you know, be a bumper sticker at least.
There's a philosopher named Alan Watts, and Alan Watts firmly believes that the meaning of life is play. Like that is why we are here. We work and we feed ourselves and we protect ourselves so that we can celebrate our consciousness with play. And that is the reason that we exist. So I try to do that as much as I can. Like I act on television so that I can play D&D.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's tribute. It's amazing.
Play. Yeah.
Yeah. They say that is. God. Yeah. They say that that's the sign of the highest form of intelligence, the most intelligent animals on the planet play.
Yeah, because what, like, I would hate to think what the alternative is. Like, I think the reason that I'm conscious is so that I can kind of celebrate existence, and I understand that that comes from a place of privilege, and there's a lot of suffering in this world, and I do my best to alleviate that through entertainment and through charity work and whatnot. But I do believe that people even find in the darkest moments you seek levity and pleasure and play, and our job is to help lift each other up. So that's why we're here.
Well said. Todd, thank you so much for all the time you spent with us here on Rebel Force Radio. To know that you had listened to us before, and we're so happy for you and your success and this incredible character that you created with friends. And thank you for helping bring to life one of the most fulfilling reunions for our childhood. I think for my childhood, that is. You guys are old, but
truly, and
with the series,
and I couldn't put it any better than Jean-Luc Picard himself when he says, "Jason,
he's one of us."
No, I have an audio.
Audio
cue for you.
Good, though. That was good.
That was good.
I don't know. I was thinking he's one of us, but I know what Mac's thinking.
You are indeed a dipshit from Chicago.
That's the one. I think you relate to both.
I hope that never gets old for you, Todd. I hope it never gets old for you.
No, it is so factually accurate that I could not run from it if I tried.
And I have a feeling that once you you depart our presence and you go on with your life, Jason is going to continue to be using that soundbite on every edition of Rebel Force Radio going forward.
How about you?
Following my commentary from time to time.
I say, may the force be with you and live long and prosper. I have a shirt that says "Divided Allegiance," and one of the first word is in Star Wars font, the second's in Star Trek font. It's half the Falcon and half the Enterprise.
The Enterprise. I've seen that. It's an awesome design.
It's a good shirt. It's a good shirt.
Right,
it's like
man.
when Ray Rayner used to wear the jersey that was half White Sox, half Cubs.
We're off to Cuddly Duddly's house. He's cute as he can be.
Wait, we got to ask, are you Cubs or
from
you
Empire
Sox?
Strikes Back? Don't ask. In that I was not raised with sports in my house. So
okay.
I was a Star Wars kid. We didn't go to sports. But the first time I saw clips of Empire Strikes Back was on the Ray Rayner show.
The Ray Rayner was a long-running kids' morning show, and they would show cartoons.
Right. And how are you today?
and he had characters up there. Cuddly Dudley was one of them.
So much. Oh, one of my highlights. You want to talk about fanboying? If I can bend your ear for 2 seconds. I'm now friends with Svengoolie.
Oh my God, I've known Rich Sven for 20-something years. He's anybody in Chicago media we love Sven. He's the greatest.
And he brought me to the studio, and I got to sit in the coffin, and it was just a thrill.
Did he make you a celebrity chicken chucker?
No, because it wasn't during a taping.
Oh, rats! There he is.
I went as Sven for Halloween years ago, and my buddy David was friends with him. He took pictures of me as Sven and sent it to him, and then a friendship began from there. And I could not be more happy.
Mark Hamill is another big fan of Svengoolie.
Yes, indeedy. And he's just such a wonderful guy. Rich Coase. He's just one of the nicest people in the world, and he's beloved by everybody in Chicago media. And my family knows him. What a wonderful guy! You're a great guy too, Todd.
All right, gentlemen, this has been a blast.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolute great time. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you. Looking forward to talking to you again.
I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.